My name is Callie Reed, and this story isn't about revenge. It's about remembering your worth, even when your own family forgets you exist. I wasn't always the forgotten one. When I was 6, I won the school spelling bee. My mom smiled. My dad took a picture. That was the last time I remember feeling seen. See, in my family, attention was currency. My older brother Jason, varsity football captain, local hero. My sister Danielle, flawless, fashionable, already planning her wedding at 16. Me, quiet, bookish, the one who always figured things out on her own. When Jason broke his arm in a game, the whole family drove 4 hours to bring him soup. When I had pneumonia at 12, my mom left a note on the counter. Take Tylenol. Don't get the couch dirty. At first, I tried harder. Straighter A's, science fairs, piano recitals. But my awards collected dust. Nobody came. Nobody noticed. And the older I got, the more invisible I became. Jason threw wild parties. Mom called him a social boy. Danielle maxed out Dad's credit card. He called her just expressive. When I accidentally dropped a glass at dinner, I was ungrateful and dramatic. I learned to fold into the background, to keep my victories private, to cry silently. But here's the thing about people like me. We remember every glance that skipped us, every celebration we weren't invited to, every time our name was left off the group text. And even when we're silent, we're watching. By the time I turned 18, I had already decided one thing. If they weren't going to clap for me, I'd build my own damn stage. I worked through college, took 3 jobs, slept in libraries, skipped spring breaks, while Jason bragged about networking on his dad's boat. I studied economics by candlelight during a power outage. I graduated summa cum laude, number 1 in my class, on my own terms. And when my family said they were taking me out for dinner to celebrate, I knew better than to expect much. But what I didn't know was that this dinner, the one where they gave me cold leftovers, would change everything. The restaurant they picked was nice, not elegant, not celebratory, just expensive. The kind of place Jason liked to show off in. I arrived 5 minutes early, dressed in the only semi-formal outfit I owned. A dark blue dress I bought from a clearance rack 2 years ago. I'd even done my hair, just in case they wanted a photo. They didn't. When I walked in, they were already seated. Jason was mid-story about some VP at his company who totally had it out for him. Danielle was scrolling on her phone, laughing at something that wasn't me. My mother glanced up and said, "You're here? Good. We already ordered." Not congratulations. Not we're proud of you. Just, we already ordered. I sat down at the edge of the table. No one moved over. There wasn't even a menu in front of me. The waiter came. "For you, miss." My mother answered before I could speak. "She'll have what's left from ours. We didn't want to waste." The waiter hesitated. I did too, but I smiled and nodded. "Sure. Thank you." 10 minutes later, the plates came out. Jason had steak, medium rare. Danielle had truffle risotto. My plate was a half-eaten pasta dish, cold, garnished with someone else's lemon wedge. "Try the bread," my dad said. "It's free. You know, save your money now that you've graduated." Then they laughed. Laughed. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't even angry. Just numb. They toasted Jason's promotion. Danielle talked about honeymoon destinations. No one asked me about my thesis, or my job offers, or how I felt. I faded into the linen, into the cutlery, a fixture at the table. Like a salt shaker they forgot to refill. That's when the waiter returned. He bent down quietly beside me. "Miss Reed, I believe there's been a special request added to your name." I looked up. My heart stuttered. I nodded slowly. "Yes." There is. They thought I showed up unprepared. Just another forgotten girl sitting at the edge of the table. What they didn't know was that I had planned this night for months. It started the day I got my final grades. 4.0 GPA. Honors. No celebration. No card. Not even a text. That night, I sat alone on my twin mattress in student housing, staring at the ceiling. I wasn't sad. I wasn't even surprised anymore. But I was done. I remembered something my economics professor once said. Control doesn't always come from power. Sometimes it comes from patience. So I waited. And I planned. A week later, I called Chef Mateo, the executive chef at Le Montrose. He's an old family friend. Well, friend of Jason's, actually. But Jason never tips. And Mateo? He remembered me. I told him I needed a private favor. Something discreet. Precise. Quiet. He laughed and said, "Quiet revenge always tastes the best." I booked table 7, the best seat in the restaurant, normally reserved for celebrities, paid the deposit, then added a condition. Whatever my family orders, give me what comes after, but better and hotter. Serve last but loudest. I saved up for 3 weeks, ate instant noodles, walked instead of taking the train, skipped dinners with friends, but every cent went to this one moment. I didn't want to embarrass them. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to be remembered. And if not remembered, then finally seen. The night before the dinner, I texted Mateo. Confirm, the table is theirs. The spotlight is mine. He sent back a thumbs up emoji and the words, "Get ready, boss." I ironed my dress 3 times, practiced my smile in the mirror, and put a single card in my clutch. The black card I got from my new employer. What they didn't know was that the company I just signed with now owns 17% of Dad's investment firm. Not that they'd ever asked where I applied. This dinner was never theirs. It was always mine. The waiter returned, but this time not with leftovers. Behind him, Chef Mateo walked out. White coat, spotless apron, eyes locked on me. The table went quiet. Even Jason stopped chewing. Mateo approached our table like a conductor approaching his orchestra. "Miss Reed," he said, bowing slightly, "your first course is ready." My family stared. I smiled. "Thank you, chef." He clapped his hands. And just like that, an entire team of servers emerged from the kitchen. They moved like dancers, silent, coordinated, carrying silver domes, tall wine bottles, crystal glasses. The lights above us dimmed slightly. A spotlight, yes, an actual spotlight, brightened my end of the table. Danielle blinked. "What is happening?" "Excuse me," Mateo said politely to my dad, who was in the middle seat. "Would you mind shifting over? Miss Reed booked this section." Dad looked stunned. Mateo remained calm. And then, someone from management approached and whispered, "Sir, her name is on the reservation." I sat back, let them shuffle. I wasn't smug. I wasn't loud. I was just still. Course after course was placed before me. Lobster risotto, smoked duck breast, a dessert made from hand-forged cherries and 24K edible gold. And each dish, better than anything they'd ordered. Jason muttered, "What the hell is this?" I sipped from my personalized wine glass and said, "Dinner." Mateo leaned in once more, his voice low. And now the final touch. A velvet box was presented. Inside, a letter. "From your new employer," Mateo said with a wink. I opened it slowly, read it silently, then looked up, at Mom, at Dad, at Jason, at Danielle. "They've promoted me to junior director," I said. "Starting next week, I'll be overseeing assets, including the firm Dad works at." Silence. Then a fork clattered. I continued, "But don't worry. HR won't be notified. Unless you keep calling me ungrateful at family dinners. Danielle's mouth hung open. Jason looked like he was trying to divide by 0. I raised my glass to the girl at the edge of the table. May she never wait for scraps again. Silence. That was the real dessert. Not the cherries. Not the gold flakes. Just the stunned silence of 4 people who never expected me to rise. Jason was the first to break it. You set us up. I tilted my head. No. I invited you to dinner. I just didn't tell you who was paying. Danielle didn't say much. She kept stirring her water glass like it held answers. My mom. She finally looked me in the eyes. You think money means power now? She asked, voice clipped. I met her gaze. No, Mom. I think respect means power. And for once, I didn't have to beg for it. My dad tried to make a joke. Something about how at least someone in the family knows how to negotiate. But it landed flat. He looked down at his plate like the food had betrayed him too. I sat there, not gloating, but tasting the space I carved out for myself. This wasn't about rubbing it in. It was about finally breathing. You spend enough years holding your breath at the family table, and one day you either leave or you learn to control the air. The waiter brought the bill. My dad instinctively reached for it, then stopped when he saw the name. Miss Callie Reed, private executive booking. I took it, tipped generously, not to show off, but because I remembered how Jason never tipped Mateo. Thanks for coming, everyone, I said. Really, it meant a lot. I stood up. My chair scraped gently against the marble floor. I didn't storm out, didn't toss any last lines, just walked out full. For the first time in my life. For 2 days there was silence. No texts, no calls, just the echo of my heels on the pavement as I walked into my new job. The office was quiet, modern, and respectful. People knew my name. They said, "Welcome aboard, Director Reed." No one laughed when I spoke. No one talked over me. No one made me feel small. I didn't realize how starved I was for that. For basic dignity. It felt almost fake, at first, like my nervous system didn't know how to process kindness. Then, on the 3rd day, the text came. From my sister. Hey, that was wild. I guess congrats. I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the reply, but I didn't type anything. 10 minutes later, another message. This one from Mom. Callie, we need to talk. I didn't realize things were so one-sided. Maybe we should have a proper dinner. A proper dinner. Now they wanted to try again. I didn't know what I felt. Relief? Anger? Some strange blend of pride and sadness. I set the phone down. Watched the screen dim to black. The truth is, when you've been ignored long enough, even the sound of your name feels foreign. And now they wanted to say it again. But only after I'd forced them to notice. The old me would have said yes. Would have apologized for making them uncomfortable. Would have shown up early and offered to pay. But the new me, the one they created with their absence, she wasn't hungry anymore. Not for food. Not for validation. Not for crumbs of affection thrown like bones at a dog. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because I had nothing to say. Sometimes, silence is the loudest answer, and mine was finally heard. A week later, I sent the text. Just one sentence. Dinner at my place. Saturday, 6 p.m. Come if you want to talk. I didn't expect a yes, but all 4 of them showed up. Mom brought wine. Dad brought a pie from the bakery they never let me eat from growing up. Danielle brought flowers, with the tag still on. Jason came empty-handed, but that was his brand. My apartment wasn't big, but it was mine. Clean, simple, quiet. I'd set the table myself, nothing fancy. Just soup, roast chicken, and wine I could finally afford. The food wasn't what they noticed. It was the absence. No framed family photos. No traces of my childhood. Just me. I watched them look around. For once, they seemed unsure of how to act. We ate in silence for the first 10 minutes. Then Jason cleared his throat. So director, huh? Apparently. Guess we missed a lot. I smiled, but didn't offer comfort. You were busy. Dad tried next. We're proud of you, you know. He said it like a line from a play. Practiced. Safe. I didn't invite you for applause. I said. I invited you to see if you could sit at a table you didn't build. That landed. They quieted again. Finally, Mom spoke. Callie, I don't know how we got here. I do, I said. And I'm not angry about the past. But I am curious about the future. She looked at me. Really looked. What do you mean? I leaned back in my chair. This table, tonight, it's a test. Not a trap. I want to know if you can come into my world without trying to rearrange it. Can you sit with me? I continued. Without treating me like the girl waiting for leftovers? The silence after that was deeper than anything I'd ever known. Then Jason whispered, I can try. It wasn't perfect, but for the first time it was honest. And sometimes, that's where everything begins. The plates were cleared. The wine ran out. The silence remained, but it had changed. This time it wasn't hollow. It was full of reflection. As they got up to leave, my dad paused by the door. He turned to me and said, We should have made room at the table a long time ago. I didn't say it's fine. I didn't say it doesn't matter. I just said, Now you know how to pull up a chair. Jason gave me a nod. Not dramatic, just respectful. Danielle placed the now-to-tag flowers on my shelf without a word. Maybe she finally understood what it meant to bring something and leave it behind. Mom hugged me at the door. Not tight, not forced, just real. Thanks for letting us in, she said. I didn't let her go right away, but I didn't hold on too long either. After they left, I looked at the empty table. Crumbs, glasses, a few quiet impressions in the seat cushions. I pulled out one more chair. Just for me. I poured myself the last drop of wine, sat down, took a breath. For the first time in my life, I wasn't asking to belong. I had built a table, and I had placed my own name at it. No one could erase that again. My name is Callie Reed, and I don't eat leftovers anymore.